All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Meeting is going to start in about 2 minutes or so. All I'm going to do is go over some real quick housekeeping issues. When you come up, sign in on the sign-in sheet so we know who spoke during the meeting. Please, if you're speaking, speak into the microphone so that we can hear you. We do minutes of the meetings, and if I can't understand what you're saying, it's not going to get into the minutes. So board members, remember to turn your microphones on when you're talking so that they can hear you and I can transcribe what you say. So at this point, when the bell tolls, that's when we'll probably get started. So hold tight just another minute. So first order is the approval of minutes from December 20, 2022.
I move that we approve the minutes.
So the first item under new business is TMS number 1370707021123 South Cedar Street, Zone DMX Downtown Mixed Use. Owned by Much Required LLC. This is an appeal of the administrative decision to issue a business license and conditional use permit for a new tobacco alternative sales store in accordance with section 3.4.5D of the Somerville Unified Development Ordinance. Staff received written objections to the applicant's application for a business license and conditional use permit for a new tobacco alternative sales store in accordance with the UDO. Appeals of administrative decisions are required to be heard and decided by the Board of Zoning Appeals, section 13.10.2. The board has the authority to take the following actions. You can affirm the action of town staff, modify the action of town staff, and to that end, the BZA shall have all the powers of the officer, board, or commission from which the appeal is taken and may issue a permit or direct that a permit be issued. Or 3, reverse the action of town staff, and to that end, the Board of Zoning Appeals shall have all of the powers of the officer, board, or commission from which the appeal is taken and may issue a permit or direct that a permit be issued. So the background of this is a real estate broker contacted town staff regarding establishing a vape shop at the proposed location of 123 South Cedar. Staff reviewed the proposed location based on section 3.4.5D of the UDO. This states that there are certain conditions that need to be met before a business license and conditional use permit can be issued for the operation of this use within a DMX zoning district. So The location requirements are as follows. Tobacco alternative sales stores shall only be allowed in the DMX, UCMX, GB, and LI districts and shall require approval of a conditional use permit. B, no new tobacco alternative sales stores shall be established or located within 500 feet from any existing residential district, any sensitive receptors or similar use as determined by the town staff. And C, if the proposed location is within 1,000 feet of a parcel occupied by a public or private kindergarten, elementary, middle, junior high, or high school, licensed child care facility or preschool other than a family daycare facility, public playground, youth center, or public recreational facility, the town staff shall consider the compatibility of the proposed use and said uses and determine whether one, the proposed use can be approved as proposed. Two, conditions can be imposed to mitigate any adverse impacts. Three, the proposed use should be considered for another location. And four, the determination shall be accompanied by a finding that there are other suitable locations for the proposed use and that said locations will not have the same or greater adverse impacts on the proposed location. The distances set forth above shall be measured as a radius from property line to property line without regard to intervening structures. And D, the applicant shall be required to submit a map drawn to scale showing how their proposed business location meets the aforementioned location requirements as part of the conditional use permit application. So based on those conditions, staff made the determination that the tobacco alternative sales store could be located at 123 South Cedar Street based on the following evaluation. A, the property in question is zoned DMX, which is downtown mixed use, and that meets location requirement A. There are no residential districts, sensitive receptors, or similar uses within 500 feet of 123 South Cedar Street. C, there are no public or private kindergarten, elementary, middle, junior high, or high school, licensed childcare facilities or preschool other than a family daycare facility, proposed playground, youth center, or public recreational facility within 1,000 feet of the proposed location. And D, based on the provided maps attached for your reference, the applicant meets the required location requirements. Based upon the above evaluation, staff determined that a new tobacco alternative sales store met the conditions to be issued a business license and conditional use permit to operate at 123 South Cedar Street. So that is staff's evaluation of requirements as well as the stated requirements in the UDO for this particular use.
Yes, sir. Zachary Klosser, I've signed in. I'm an attorney for the applicant, Mr. Lutz. I think that the board should uphold the staff's findings. I have not seen the application for the appeal or know what the grounds are necessarily. However, that is a requirement and would like to see the same. One thing that I want the board to bear in mind when you're listening to everyone and weighing the decision is that you shall take one of those actions that was listed earlier: approve, modify, or deny, reverse. But your action needs to be consistent with the UDO and what the UDO says and what how staff has applied it. That's what's available to you is the approval of the staff's findings. Additionally, if you were to reverse it or modify it, you'd be doing so on an inconsistent basis, given that there is another FX vape shop within 827 feet, and I have a map if you'd like to see it, of the who I understand to be the complaining parties, the YMCA, the Public Works Center for the Arts, Public Works Arts Center, and to allow one individual to run the same business and disallow another is obviously unfair, to say nothing of the other legal ramifications that come along with that. Moreover, you know, I sit on the Board of Zoning Appeals for North Charleston, and this comes up from time to time, and what I always think needs to happen is, you know, this is more a question of changing the law as opposed to trying to pigeonhole or mold the law around an individual situation. The council has created the ordinances, created the zoning, and if it doesn't work for the town of Somerville, then that's what needs to change, not a case-by-case analysis for someone, a business that clearly fits within the zoning regulations. But I am happy to answer any questions you may have, but I appreciate your time. I have a map. It's right on me. Right on me.
They are 549 feet from the proposed location, so that is meeting the separation requirement from a similar use. I don't remember exactly when it opened, but yes, they have been on North Main for probably since 2019, and I think it does predate the approval of the UDO.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jana Riley. I am the Executive Director of Public Works Art Center. If you're not familiar with us, we're just over here on the corner of Cedar and West Richardson Avenue. I'm a Somerville High School graduate, raised here in Somerville, and love this town deeply. I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Klosser that the UDO is exactly what should be held up in this case, and all others. I do also note what Mr. McCall said here, that the current UDO was approved after Vape FX was allowed into that space. So I would say that's a little irrelevant here. I was the one who filed the appeal on behalf of this space, but this was after speaking to numerous people who were willing to file as citizens. I went ahead and filed on behalf of Public Works because what we do over there is an extremely family-friendly action. We have a mission to create a safe, enriching environment, not within our four walls, not just within our four walls of Public Works Art Center, but the downtown district as a whole. It matters to us extremely that downtown Somerville is a place that is prosperous, that it's a place that families can enjoy in a way that feels safe and comfortable and again, enriching. And it matters to us that we are creating the kind of town that we want to live in, and we want our visitors, a town that we can be proud of. And this is just an opinion, but I'm not proud of a vape shop in our downtown district, to be honest. Within the zoning ordinances, as Mr. McCall said here, these types of places cannot be within 1,000 feet of a childcare facility, of an education facility, of a public playground, a youth center, a public recreational facility. The YMCA is a public recreational facility. Now you might say, well, technically they're not public because they have memberships. The YMCA also has a public park up there on the corner. You might say, well, technically it's a park, not a playground. And right there in the UDO, it does say playground, not park. Hutchinson Square is right around the corner. Only 686 feet away from this space, in between 517 and 686, where depending on where you measure to. You could say that's not a park, but a playground, but it is a park. We at Public Works, we have over 1,000 people taking classes in our space. We are family friendly to our core. It is 270 summer campers every single year, if not more. We have over 800 children that attend our classes. While we might not technically be a public or private kindergarten, we are more of an education center in downtown Somerville than many schools that would be technically schools. One thing that we discovered throughout this entire process of going through and trying to figure out what is best for Somerville was something that hasn't been mentioned in any of these letters, and I'd like to share with you today, and I do have handouts if you need it. St. Luke's, I'm sure you're all familiar with, is right over here on Cedar. That space, that building is home to a licensed, DHEC licensed childcare facility. That is within 771 feet from this building. That is a direct violation of this UDO. Now, I don't believe that that was made, that the approval was made with intent and with any negative intent, but I believe this was an oversight. If we are just going by the UDO, as Mr. Klosser said, we should abide by that. And so to that end, with St. Luke's being a DHEC licensed childcare facility, this should not pass. Not to mention the public park that is the YMCA, the public park that is Hutchinson Square on the own town's own website, the education facility that is Public Works Art Center, the recreation facility that is the YMCA, the youth center that is both of us. I mean, it's a clear as day violation, in my opinion. We talk here about sensitive receptors being children, elderly people that are retirees. You will not find another place in downtown Somerville that is more filled with sensitive receptors than this space, just cradled in between the YMCA, St. Luke's, and Public Works Art Center. Public Works Art Center serves 2,500 people free of charge every single month on average, and most of those are either retirees or children. We are directly adjacent to their parking lot. And I do want to address an elephant in the room that may or may not come up, but I've seen it addressed around town. And yes, this building used to be a liquor store. That happened before we moved in. When we found this building, or when we discovered that this building that we now are in was going up for sale, it was despite the fact that there was a liquor store in the back. You know, we dealt with it. It wasn't without its challenges. There were plenty of mini bottles and drunks all around all the time. But we must be culturally competent. I have a 7-year-old, he's here in the room. Absolutely love him to death, and my 9-year-old's here too. When my 7-year-old son, Oscar, and my 9-year-old, she's a little bit ahead. But when they see a person with a little electronic device with buttons and lights on it that blows these giant clouds of smoke that look like dragon smoke and smell like cotton candy, that is compelling to them. And we as a community should try to protect our children from having a place like that in downtown Somerville that's promoting these things that are directly and indirectly marketed toward children. The Surgeon General has called vaping an epidemic. If you ask any middle school teacher, any high school teacher, they will tell you that this is pervasive in schools. So morally, ethically, and legally here with the St. Luke's and all the parks and all of the things, I think it's just a really clear decision, and I hope you do too. The last thing I just want to say is, you know, we can go technical all day long, but I would like to encourage that we look at the intention of the UDO and that you'll reconsider this decision. I'd like to pass out now the measurements as the crow flies and sidewalk to sidewalk. We also have maps in here that show the distances between this building and the locations of it.
Website, please. I didn't want to cut it off. We'll be here a long time. Anyone else? Yes, sir. George signed it.
Hi, my name is Brad Mallett, but I am not here on behalf of the businesses that I own, the boards that I sit on. I'm here just, and very well said. And I am very lifelong supporter of this organization, as well as many others. And what I am afraid of is that if the UDO is then, and it was approved by the town, as someone who's been here for 12 years, and I do call Somerville my home, and those that know me know that I'm very vested in this community. I caution any activity or any decisions that reflect on the morality of what an individual says versus what the law says. As far as if it's legal, that's where it should be based on. If it can't be there because of a school or something like that, maybe it was, I don't know. But the morality of it is my voice versus your voice versus when does breweries, which I happen to be a partner in, when does that becomes because people don't want it? When does coffee, because I am very involved in that. I just caution the board to use common sense and not legislate morality. Thank you.
My name is Dickie Myler, and I am the real estate broker who was identified as writing the letter to your distinguished board. I want to make sure that what Janice said is understood in concrete terms, that we're talking about the scope of the UDO in the terms of the $1,000 perimeter, 1,000 feet, excuse me. And both these institutions, the YMCA Youth Center, which is defined as a youth center, and both the DHEC approved childcare center at St. Luke's are within 1,000 feet, which disqualifies this right off the bat. No morality intent at all, but the intent of the UDO is to protect the well-being and the safety of the general population in our zoning and how we do things. And the spirit of this appeal is to eliminate that type of misuse in an area where there's so much vulnerability with so many young people. As Brad said, we want to take the morality out of it. We just want to do what's right according to what has already been established by the UDO and what's best for the town of Somerville. And I've always liked to say this town is a beautiful town, and I want to make sure it always stays Bedford Falls and never becomes Pottersville. Thank you.
Next. Anybody? Dick, did you sign in? Did you sign in, Dick? Did you sign?
Can I go over 2 minutes?
Good hear you.
Beg your pardon?
Go ahead.
My name is Diane Frankenberger, and I'm a resident of the town of Somerville. I have a business in downtown Somerville, which I've had for 33 years. I moved to Somerville in 1967, so that is approximately 56 years ago. I've seen a lot of changes in this town. We're a military family. We moved all over the place. And to get sentimental about this, Somerville was and is a good place. It's not a great place, that implies ego, but it's a good place. And I am going to talk about morality. I think a community sets its standards. One time, Bill Collins, who was the editor of the local newspaper, he ran an ad for male strippers. I called him up. I said, Bill, this ad is just totally unacceptable. He said, Diane, you're the first one to complain. I said, how many people do you need to call? I'll get them. And he never ran that ad again. There are many things that happen in this town. And Max Lucado said in one of his books, don't sit when you should stand and don't remain silent when you should speak. I'm not going to go into the history of Brandon Lutz in this building, but I am good friends with Brandon Lutz. I may be not after this. I taught him to quilt. We did a gig at the Methodist Church for their seniors where he showed a quilt that he had made and his grandmother had made. He talked to me about that building when he bought it, and I was really excited. He was going to make it an incubator. That's what I did with Cawthon's old hardware store. I said, that is a great idea. That didn't work. The next thing he told me about in confidence, and this is okay to repeat, it was going to be Page's Ochre Grill, and they were going to do takeout, serve takeout. I said, that's a great idea. The next thing it was going to be was a butcher shop similar to the one over in Nexton. I said, that's a great idea. The next thing it was going to be was a men's barber shop. I said, that's a great idea. At the very beginning, he said there was a vape shop that wanted to come. And he said, I said, not a vape shop. He said, Miss Diane, I'll never put a vape shop in there. I said, good. A little PS to this story. The vape shop on Main Street, I went and visited them. I hadn't really seen that till a couple weeks ago. I couldn't believe it. That's been there for 6 years. That precedes the UTO, whatever it's called, unidentified flying objects, UFO. I asked them who owned the building. They told me. Brandon Lutz just recently bought that building. He asked them, did they want to move over to Cedar Street? They said, and they told him no. Brandon told me that his intention was to get the vape shop off of Main Street. Really? You all, I tried to find my email. I said this to Brandon, and I'll say it to you all, and I'll say it to the audience. I said, Brandon, don't sell out, hold out. That's a great location. A lot of things could be done to it. He only had to look at the property right next door that Hilda Hamilton owns. And Becky Heyer has been there for 20 years. It's a series of offices. All kinds of things could have gone there. I know what he paid for it. I'm not at liberty to disclose that. That was too much money. And to make that back, I'm in business. I know what it is like to struggle. But you can write that off. I don't intend to deal with finances here. But I ask you, a community can set its standards, whether it's an electrical outlet that's put in your house or kids that have to wear seatbelts, how you treat your spouse, how you treat your children. What makes freedom work is law and order. And that means police. And the order is stop at a red light. And the reason for that is protection. And that's what I'm asking you to do, to protect our youth. This is a very glamorous thing. If you go online, I was just amazed at all the different gadgets that you can get and the different flavors. I'm going to close because I'm way over my 2 minutes, but thank you for letting me say what I said. And I don't even know where the sign-in sheet is. It's been a crazy day. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to appeal. And I want to say that Jesse and Tim were kind and professional. And they said, since I went to them and saw them, and they said, Miss Diane, if you want to appeal, you can. That's what the process is for. And so that is what makes this country free, that we are allowed to appeal. And I will abide by the decision, and I will be a good neighbor. Thank you both. Thank all three of you.
Good evening. My name is Brett Rashion. Full disclosure, I am the real estate broker on behalf of Brandon Lutz. I wasn't planning on speaking today. My real concern is just simply property rights. We did as much of our due diligence on the front end as possible, talking to Jesse, talking to Tim. The tenant spoke with the town, the landlord spoke with the town, the broker spoke with the town. This appeared to be and appears to be a use that has conditions that were met. And at the end of the day, again, I just think this is simply a property rights issue. Part of property rights is the adjacent property owner and their ability to appeal the zoning, which I certainly respect. But, you know, we're people in this room are making this sound like a meth shop is going next door. I mean, this is completely out of control. I mean, this is a legal use. There are bars within, you know, hundreds of feet, several. There's probably a bar within 50 feet of this building. You can actually serve alcohol in this building because I drink alcohol in that building. It's at private events. I just, at some point, as Brad Mallett mentioned, you know, where does the morality police stop? I mean, this is for a legal use. I don't vape. I don't smoke. It's not for me. Quite frankly, in full disclosure, I don't even think this is the highest and best use of the building, but that's really none of my business. I don't own the property. I don't have a mortgage on the property. I'm not paying the expenses on the property. But the reality is, Mr. Lutz is, and he decided that he would like to move forward with this business. And I know Ms. Frankenberger is recalling private conversations with Mr. Lutz, so I would like to add on his behalf that when we went into leasing this property, it was our idea that this property would be something else. The reality is we had it publicly for lease and we received about 8 or 9 LOIs. Some of these LOIs didn't go anywhere. Some of them did. She did recall several different uses that we explored, and for a variety of reasons, they couldn't move forward. What she's not telling you is Brandon turned down multiple letters of intents from attorneys' offices and all sorts of boring uses that none of us want. I think all of us want uses in these properties that bring foot traffic downtown, and that they add just a synergistic energy with the rest of the town, and it just creates a more unified downtown that all of the various businesses thrive. The problem is, at some point you have to fill a space with a vacancy. I mean, you just have to. And we did not give them a very extended lease, even though they wanted something very long term, because that allows flexibility for the landlord. But at the end of the day, I do feel this is hypocritical. There are plenty of places that serve alcohol. I'm not going to get into what's worse, alcohol or smoking. They're both age restricted. They both have Surgeon General's warnings, but at some point, I just don't know where the morality police, where that stops. But as property owners, I think people should be concerned. It just, if your neighbor doesn't like your use, whether it's legal or not, and it conforms to the UDO, I just personally, I think that's an issue. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Joy Varley, and I'm here representing the Carnes Crossroads Artist Cooperative. We are one of the tenants in the Public Works Art Center, and our Artist Cooperative mission is to bring the work of local artists into the community and help spread the message of creativity. Most of the members of our cooperative are educators. I'm a retired educator of 36 years. Other members of our group are also retired educators, and if they did not teach officially in schools, they've been teaching children and art classes to children for many, many years. One of the things that drew us to the Public Works Art Center was its mission of providing a safe place for families and children where they could explore and learn and grow. The vape shop is a concern to me and to our group. After working with middle school children for many, many years, we know how easily influenced they are. And whether or not there's an intent to influence children, you can't say to children, just don't look over there. Everything is in their view. And with the number of kids who come in and out of the Public Works Art Center and their families, it's not what we feel is the best use to provide a safe, ongoing environment to encourage parents to bring their children, to encourage children to come and explore. We would hope that you would reverse the decision. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gretchen Cuddy, and my husband Brian and I just moved to Somerville about 2 years ago. My husband Brian is a neurosurgeon at Roper St. Francis, He's also the director of the board there. I am a registered nurse, retired, but I worked for years at the pediatric ICU at MUSC Children's Hospital. We moved to Somerville basically because we were enthralled with this community. It's charming, it's quaint, we live in the historic district, and we see potential here. And I'm asking you to reconsider what's happening with this vape shop from a health standard. Working with children in the ICU, oftentimes those children are admitted for reasons that were not warranted, that were accidental, car wrecks, burns, overdoses. And so as a retired nurse and thinking of children in this community, I think it behooves us to do whatever we can to safeguard children's lives and their prosperity. So by allowing a vape shop to open up right across the street from the YMCA and next to the Public Works Arts Center, let alone a children's daycare that is at St. Luke's Church, I find this clearly a violation of the UDO. And I ask you to please reconsider this business from opening in this particular location. I'm sure that there are plenty of other places that a vape shop could open, but please, if you can, reverse this decision. Thank you.
Can I make a motion? That thing's loud. Based on a lot of things that I've heard today and that I've researched, I think our job is to abide by the UDO. Whether we agree with vape shop or don't agree with it, it's totally irrelevant. And I am personally a property rights person too, but if we're going to abide by the UDO, it clearly says that within 1,000 feet, you can't have a youth center. And the youth center is defined by any recreational facility and or gymnasium. So there's one right across the street at the Y. Recreational facility, I think of the Hutchins Square as a recreational facility that children playing in there all the time. I don't know how we could approve this. So I would move that we reverse the action of town staff and whatever the terminology is, Tim, decline this business license. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay.
I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. It's an issue for our youth.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
All approved?
No, I didn't. I voted against it.
Okay.
I don't think we should change the UDO. It's been approved by the city. I don't think that.
You
Well,
what?
that's not the UDO.
No, we're not approving the UDO. This is the business license that they approved, and we're saying they should not have based on the UDO.
Okay.
We're reversed the action of the town staff. The town staff said approve the business license. I'm saying, do not approve the business license because it does not meet the UDO.
I disagree with that. I'm not going to go with that.
Okay. So that's 2 and 1.
2-1. What we have to do is we're just gonna delay the final thing until the next meeting because
So to explain,
we need 3 votes to approve it.
2 of our members are not here.
So by having 2-1, even though 2 people agree, it doesn't meet our criteria. So we have to have at least one more member of the BZA. We're gonna have to put this off until next month.
So basically, to explain to the audience, the BZA rules require a minimum of 3 votes for any motion to pass. That is either for or against, it doesn't matter. Because we have 3 board members here because of 2 absences, it needs to be completely unanimous. So what the board needs to do, because that first motion failed, they can put up another motion to defer to the following meeting and then take a vote on that.
All right, I'd make that motion that we defer to the next meeting.
And I'll second that.
And I hope that they can get a transcription of what you all have said. And we could also review that with 2 people, and then it should be open to discussion again next month. Other business?
The other business on the agenda is the election of officers.
I'd like to recommend that we wait until our other 2 members are here with us. Or they're liable to get elected to both of the chairman and vice chairman.
All right, do we have a second to defer? Vote? All right. All right, that being the last item of business, the next
Move
thing
that
we
we
do is
adjourn.
adjourn.
Adjourn. Thank you very much for coming. Bye.